The stone. The story began not long ago, but its roots go back 25 years. Back then, my mother started cheating on my father. I was 14, and honestly, I couldn't even blame her. Dad was always away, worked from dawn till dusk on weekdays, then finishing on hunting with his friends on weekends, resting just without us. So when I realized Mom had a lover, I didn't feel angry, more curious than anything. She introduced him simply, which is love. He looked no older than 30, yet his hair was completely white, tied neatly into a small ponytail. He was clean shaven, always calm, almost too calm. When I once asked what he did for a living, he smiled and said, "Witchcraft and antiques." I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. 2 or 3 months later, my father came home early from work, needed some papers and got them right there. Czeslaw wasn't a fighter, but he didn't look afraid either. "If I see you again," Dad shouted. Czeslaw just smiled and said, "You won't." Then, naked and limping slightly, he walked out into the stairwell, got dressed right there, and even greeted a couple of neighbors on their way down, as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, my father screamed at my mother, telling her to pack her things and get out by morning. Then he grabbed his papers and went off on another trip. He never came back. My father never came back. That Sunday, his friends drove up instead. They said he'd gone missing in the woods. He'd left the tent at night just for a moment to relieve himself. Then rain started, a heavy storm, and he never returned. They searched half the day the next day, called rescue teams, dogs, helicopters, nothing. Weeks later, still nothing. No tracks, no clothes, no body, just gone. I had no grandparents, no uncles on his side, so everything, the apartment, his share of the business, went to us, to my mother and me. After that, Vyacheslav started coming more often. He advised her on business, and strangely, his advice always worked. She sold my father's company just before the crisis, bought several apartments in the new buildings. They were delayed, of course, 2 more years late, but they were finished eventually. She furnished them and rented them out. She never had to worry about money again. Vyacheslav became her quiet miracle. He didn't age, not even a little. While my mother slowly grew older, he stayed the same, calm, pale, and smiling. When I got sick once, a fever near 40, vomiting, he came, boiled a cup of tea, whispered something over it, told me to drink. It tasted normal. 15 minutes later, I fell asleep. By morning, I was fine. No pills, no doctors, just a cup of tea. That's when I stopped doubting. Magic was real. Czeslaw was not an ordinary man. Of course, I begged him to teach me. He refused. Always with the same smile. "Dima," he said, "I teach you, but you are too stupid." I was furious. No one ever called me stupid before. Not my teachers, not my classmates. I was one of the best students, sharp, curious, confident, but to him I was a fool. So I tried to prove him wrong. I studied, read everything about witchcraft, alchemy, ancient rituals. I went through libraries, forums, obscure archives, and whenever I showed him something new, he just laughed. "Dima," he said, "calm down, it's not yours." Years passed. I graduated, worked, built myself up, but that hunger for the knowledge, for the power, never left. If he wouldn't teach me, I'd learn on my own. I started small, selling things, trading, negotiating. At first it was simple, cheap goods, little profits, and then old books, antiques, anything with a history. I studied every object, every mark, every crack, and eventually I opened my own little shop. That's when I found my back to him, Vyacheslav. He was still around, still young, still white-haired, no wrinkles, no weakness, and no secrets shared. But at least now we had a reason to talk business. He helped me at first, introduced me to collectors, taught me how to spot value, but his own shop was strange, cluttered, chaotic, like a museum run by ghosts. He sold ordinary junk for absurd prices, and people still bought it. It felt like business and more like a front for something else. Every time I asked, he gave me the same answer: "You're too stupid." But I was done believing that. They say curiosity kills the cat. I just never thought it would come for me. One day, I heard a story about a man who found something in the far northern forests, ancient land, where the Finno-Ugric tribes once lived. He said they used a stone to speak with the spirit world, a week old as the ice, and his partner had it for sale. He first offered it to Vyacheslav. Vyacheslav studied the photos, asked a few questions, and said, "Sink it in the river and never go back there." That's when I knew this was it, the real thing, what I had been looking for my whole life. I bought it, paid too much for the stone, for the knowledge, for the rituals. I even paid scholars, historians, linguists, anthropologists to explain the old Finno-Ugric customs. They gave me fragments, ritual notes, sacrifices, symbols, enough to begin. When the stone finally arrived, I carried it home myself. It was huge, heavy, dense, as if it wanted to stay where it came from. Two delivery boys struggled to lift it. They left sweating, and I tipped them just to see them smile again. Poor guys, if only they knew what they'd carried upstairs. That night I prepared the room, second floor, away from neighbors. No lights, just candles and the incense. I traced the runes, drew the circles, and began to chant. The words were ancient, strange. I didn't understand them, but they vibrated somewhere inside me. The final step, sacrifice. A hare. I'd never killed before. It didn't go smoothly. The animal fought, stretched, kicked, broke candles, spilled wax, smeared blood everywhere. By the time I was done, everything stank of sweat and fear. Then silence. I stood there shaking and whispered the words again. At first nothing, then I felt it, something behind me, not moving, just there watching. The air grew heavier and I knew I wasn't alone. I turned around, nothing, but the presence remained. It didn't speak, didn't move, just waited, like a predator. Watch and pray that hasn't realized it yet. I tried to speak to it, asked its name, its purpose, nothing. Then I felt it, a hunger, a wordless craving, blood. I promised it more blood. Soon it vanished. The next morning, the hair was gone. No trace, no stain, no smell, only the stone, green and silent. The next morning, my assistant greeted me at the shop, eyes wide, voice trembling. "Meet me, Gnati, you won't believe what happened last night." He told me a story. One of the local policemen, the one who kept sniffing around my business, had fallen down a stairwell. Just slipped. The lights were out for a few seconds. Something pushed him, broke his nose, no weakness. He was lucky to be alive. I smiled. The ritual had worked. That evening, I bought more hairs, many more. Now I know what it wanted. Every time the blood touched the stone, I felt it, that presence behind me, stronger, hungrier, but it listened and it obeyed. Soon my business flourished. Clients stopped arguing, they paid more, trusted me faster. I could feel it, a current beneath my thoughts, guiding my words, bending others to my will. The gift was real, but the thing behind it was restless. Each new offering brought less satisfaction, its hunger grew, and then came the dream. I stood naked in the middle of a forest clearing, cold earth beneath my feet, the smell of pine, and wind whispering through the branches. The stars above, pale and distant, and there, in the darkness, something moved. Tall, massive, shaped like a shadow, carved from night itself. It spoke, not in words, in something old, something that reached my soul, not my ears. I understood without translation. It told me the sacrifices weren't enough, not yet. It couldn't cross the boundary, not fully, not until it was fed, truly fed. I woke up freezing, dirt on the floor, pine needles on the stairs. The hair's gone, the stone clean again, but his hunger remained. By noon, I was already calling local farms, asking the price of a live pig. a lamp, a ghost. The feelings continued for weeks, expensive but manageable. Every time I could feel it getting stronger, and me more powerful, more confident, more persuasive, until the night it asked for more. The next night it was restless. Even before I lit the candles, I felt its hunger pressing from the shadows like a weight on my chest, like something waiting to breathe through me. I offered another animal, shot it clean, blood warm on the stone, but this time the air didn't grow calm, it grew heavier. The presence pulsed, impatient, angry, demanding, and I understood. It wanted more, not fur, not feathers, flesh, human flesh. At first I thought myself I'd misread it, that I'd imagined it, but that night I dreamed again, the same forest, but now the rain fell hard. Thunder cracked above the trees, lightning tore to the sky apart, and it was white flash I saw it. A shape too large to belong to the world, skin like cracked bark, muscles moving onto something that wasn't quite flesh. Its mouth was enormous, lined with pale, uneven spikes like the broken roots of trees. Above it, antlers, twisted, moving as if alive, and all across its body, eyes, small, flickering, watching in every direction. It looked down at me and spoke again, that same ancient language, slow, cold, endless. But now I could feel its meaning. It was furious, starving, demanding what was promised. It wanted a human. The words slammed through my head like metal scooping bone. My ears rang, my stomach turned, my hands froze, and then I felt it touch me. Just a fingertip, like metal pulled from ice. My skin burned red where it touched, numb, then pain like frostbite. I screamed and fell. When I woke, I was on the floor, soaked in sweat, half naked, shaking. The spot where it had touched me was swollen and blue. The pick gone, the stone clean again. That morning I went straight to Vyacheslav. He looked at me as if he already knew. I told him everything, the rituals, the runes, the voice, the hunger. He sighed. I told you, he said, you're too stupid. I shouted at him, begged for help. He turned away. Same doors, he said, once open, never close again. I grabbed him by the shoulder. You have to help me. He turned calm, empty. No, he said, I don't. You're no one to me. And then very quietly, if you ever try to use that thing on me again, you'll regret it. Say hello to your mother. The air grew tense, heavy enough to hang a knife in. I ran. If the curse started with a stone, it would end with a stone. I called movers to take it away to the lake to sink it deep. 2 men came, then 4. None could move it, not an inch. We brought a jackhammer. 40 minutes later, the tool died, and the stone was perfect. No cracks, no dust. When I touched it myself, it burned my skin, hot as iron, fresh from a furnace. So I ran, took a train to Viborg, checked into a small hotel, thought distance might save me. At first, everything was quiet. Then the clock stopped, the room fell still. My phone wouldn't turn on. I went to the door, locked, wouldn't budge. I pressed my ear to the wall, silence. The TV next door that had been playing before gone. Moonlight filled the room, and behind the moon something moved. It peeked out, and same monstrous face from the forest. It smiled. Then the clouds rose like a wave. A massive shadow mouth swallowed the moon. Darkness fell. Every light outside out. Street lamps, windows, cars gone. Just black. I found my lighter, clicked it, flicked it. The tiny flame showed them, creatures all around me, half my size, twisted, wrong. One was hairless, skin folded like wax. Another was covered in black fur, with hooves and a tail. Some had too many eyes. One stood on the ceiling, smiling with teeth like needles. They all stared at me. Then they spoke together, one voice, many mouths. Give the master a human, give him flesh, do not delay. I whispered, I can't, they'll catch me. The voices hissed, we'll eat the skin, we'll drink the eyes, we'll grow the bones, give him a human or we'll take you. tried to run, the window wouldn't break. They fell on me like shadows with teeth, biting, drinking. I screamed, no one heard. When I began to faint, they stopped. Enough, they whispered. Enough to last till tomorrow. Next time a human or you. I broke. That morning, I drove back to St. Petersburg. Rain all day, like the sky was washing its hands off me. On the way, I picked up a woman, a prostitute. I told her I needed company for 3 days, gave her 60,000 rubles in cash. She hesitated, but money and my voice did their work. The gift was still there, the power to convince. That night I used it again. When her blood touched the stone, the air rippled like water, the presence pure, satisfied, the creatures vanished, and I felt strong, calm, weightless. After that, everything was easier. I sealed the outer room with soundproof walls, added locks, sometimes a drunk, sometimes a homeless one. The city never noticed. Each time the stone grew warmer, each time I could do more. I could light candles with a snap, float a few centimeters above the floor, move objects without touching them, disappear into shadows. The things I dreamed of since childhood, the things he said I was too stupid to learn. He was wrong. I learned. I did everything right. And yet, I can still feel it breathing behind me, inside me. The gift comes with a cost, and the cost never ends. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see the forest again, the eyes, the antlers, and it whispers the same word over and over. More.